It's really compounding. The compounding effect is not only in money, it's with everything in life. I want to do exercise. And what's the big deal of starting tomorrow? Maybe I'll start tomorrow. Maybe I'll start next week. It was also the same as the 20th day. It was not different. This is compounding, but we only see the feeling of it and the excitement of it. We only see the 20th day, the 30th day.
But if you think that you're going to skimp on the foundation and just put up the house, you're left with nothing. So
Some people don't go on a diet because they don't know how to lose 100 pounds. They only know how to lose 5 pounds.
famous slogans is one day at a time.
Git Gelt, the wisdom for your will.
Shalom Aleichem, Reb Shulam. Good to see you again.
Reb Chaim, how nice to see you again.
Yes, so a question that came in that I think we should talk about it is somebody is asking us to speak more about compound interest. It's known to be one of the miracles in the world. I think Albert Einstein said that it's the miracle. He called it the miracle of compound interest. And somebody asked if we can talk more about it. So let's dedicate a little time to talk about it.
Hi.
And the thing is, I want to start with a lot of people, when it comes to compounding, they associate interest to compounding. And it's very understandable why, because it's known as the miracle of compound interest. But really, it's not so much about compound interest, it's about anything in life. And it reminds me of a podcast I listened to today. It's a podcast. I listen very often to this podcast, and this guy was talking about his business, that he has a certain, way of doing business that he changes a lot.
Okay.
And I understand why. There's a certain nature that some people have that they want to, they get excited about changes. They get excited about something new to keep changing. And he's a fairly successful guy, but he complains, or he claims that because of the nature of always trying to find the next thing, you can call it the next shiny object, but I don't want to call it that way because he is successful. So he has a lot of things going very well for him. Most people who run after the next shiny object are failing and are not successful, but he is very successful. I'm a multimillionaire, and he has a few successful businesses and probably a few businesses that he started that didn't work out.
Right.
So the way I love the way that he framed it. He said like this. He was complaining that I have this exciting thing that I'm always looking for the next interesting idea, the next whatever. I don't remember exact words, but he's looking for the next interesting thing. So when he starts doing this and he starts seeing that it works already, he is like putting it on autopilot and letting it do its thing, and then he goes for the next thing. And because of that, he complains, I'm losing the power of compounding.
Okay.
And I thought it's fascinating because it's really compounding. The compounding effect is not only in money, it's with everything in life. And I give you an example with diet, for example. A lot of people, when it comes to, let's say, exercise. Okay, let's talk about exercise. You think about exercise, and the way you think about it is that, I want to do exercise. And what's the big deal of starting tomorrow? Maybe I'll start tomorrow. Maybe I'll start next week. And it's the problem with it is that you don't have that. It could be it's not a big deal from today to tomorrow now, but it is a big deal later on, from 20 years or 20 years in a day.
Right.
And if you allow me, I will explain what I mean. I will show you something that I find it fascinating. Let me ask you, Reb Shulam, before I show it to you. If you take a penny a day, if you take one penny, not a penny a day, if you take one penny and you multiply it and you double it for the next 30 days, how much will you have in 30 days from now?
I don't know, but I imagine it's going to be a big number.
You want to take a guess? It's not, nothing will happen if you're not gonna give me the
A
right.
thousand. A
What?
thousand. 1,000 pennies.
1,000 pennies?
Yeah.
How about $5,368,709
In 30 days?
in 30 days?
Wow.
So again, what am I trying to do?
Well, you're just doubling each day the amount that
So
you have.
second day I have 2 pennies. Third day I have 4 pennies. And then 8 pennies. And I'll give it to you
Then
exactly
16.
how it is. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. By day 10, we have $5.12. By day 15, we have $163. By day 20, we have $5,242. Day 25, 167,000. And day 30, 5,368.
Okay.
Now, this is fascinating. So when you go from day 29 to day 30, the same, you only double once a day. You go from 29 to 30, it's a difference of about $2.5 million. Day one, it's
Yeah.
only a difference of 1 penny. So people understand that the last day is very, very important. But sometimes people don't understand that the first day is also important. And the reason for that is because you can't have the 29th and the 30th day if you don't have day one first. So it's as important.
Right. And the same works in the reverse. We don't realize how when we make one small little misjudgment or mistake or lack of doing something, how that compounds itself as well in the other direction.
Exactly.
You know,
الكسبان
you go
يوم
on the
يضيع
highway,
مزبكه.
you go on the highway and you go off the wrong exit. So you still have time to get back on. But if you stay on that way within an hour, you could be miles and miles away from your original destination.
Absolutely. I'll give you another example that happened to me the last few weeks. I think it's amazing example. For me, it worked crazy. And through the power of compounding, I got through that. I just wrote my book, the book I wrote, Your Success, The Key to Your Success. And I recorded the book. I wanted to have an audio book because I hate reading books. I love listening to books. And I thought maybe my clientele is the same. And it turns out that they are the same. So most people buy the audio book, not the paper book. And I didn't have too much patience recording it. I got to tell you the truth. I love, once I was in it, I loved it, but to get to it and then to re-record, and then sometimes, from time to time, the mic starts scratching, and I have to re-record that part. And I wanted to record it with my original tone, with my original passion. I didn't want to just read a book. I'm listening to a lot of audiobooks, and most of the audiobooks I read, you can hear somebody reading a script. I don't like it that much. I like to listen to audiobooks where the author is narrating the book, and it gives us
Right.
his passion, his original passion. And very few books are like that. That's one of the reasons that I wanted to record it myself. Now, what happened was that I'm recording the English book. I told you I wrote it in Yiddish and in English. And the Yiddish book I recorded many, many weeks ago. And now I'm finishing recording the English book. So I remember when I recorded the Yiddish book in the beginning, it was like I had a big Yetzer Hara, maybe today you're not going to record, maybe you record tomorrow. Today you're such a busy day, and I had to really, really be disciplined to do it. And the
Right.
first few days of me, it took me a few weeks to record it. So the first few days that I recorded it, my Yetzer Hara was much, much stronger. So let's say, for example, that I need to take 20 days recording, and let's say that I'm recording, let's say, 20 pages a day, just for an example, or 10 pages a day. I'm thinking to myself, it's a 220-page book, 250-page book. So the first day, okay, big deal. It's 20 pages. Let's say it's 10 pages a day. Big deal. Okay, tomorrow I will get started. I will record again. And this is what happened the first few days. And then the last 3, 4 days, I had such excitement to see that I'm almost by the finish line that it was much easier for me because I saw big progress every day for the last few days. You almost finished, you almost finished, you almost finished. Wow. And it gave me excitement to do it. But then I have the first day was also the same as the 20th day. It was not different. If I wouldn't have the first day completed, I would probably have to do it for 21 days, not for 20 days.
Right.
So that
Right.
means that the first day is just as important as the 21st day.
Right.
Has the same impact. So
Understood.
so now I'm recording the English book and I'm thinking to myself, I have such a busy day. Maybe I should not record today. I should record tomorrow. But then I'm reminded, oh, wait a minute. You remember the feeling you had the 20th day? This feeling is not going to happen the 20th day. It's going to happen the 21st day if you delay the day from today. If you delay
Right.
today's date. So this is compounding, but we only see the feeling of it and the excitement of it. We only see the 20th day, the 30th day. And you need to have a lot of discipline in the beginning in order the first day that it's only 1 penny to 2 pennies is as important as the 30th day where it's another $2.5 million.
Right. I get it. So but you're triggering a couple questions in my mind.
First, before you
Uh,
ask your questions, the example I gave you makes sense in this context?
Yeah, because every piece, you end up, you look at a beautiful house, but you have to understand that the foundation that you don't see is just as much a part of that. And you have to spend just as much time and effort and thought and investment in that foundation in order to get that beautiful house in the end. But if you think that you're going to skimp on the foundation and just put up the house, you're left with nothing. So everything requires this compounding, in order to have a true yesod, to really have well-built foundations, in order to have the outcome, it requires good foundations, but those foundations take time, and you're not going to see the benefits of the geschmack of those foundations until the actual house is built. Like you said, it requires discipline, and I think we see this across the board, not just in money, but in all aspects of our lives. I mean, exercising is a perfect example. I went on a real strong exercise campaign this past, literally a year ago in January. I decided I'm committing myself to really exercise and lose weight. And it's so difficult in the first few months because you don't see the weight coming off. The exercising is difficult. You're not used to it. It's not, it's a schlep, and it's just like this. It'd be so much easier to just pick up a coffee and go home and sit in my chair and come up with plenty of excuses. I'll learn more Torah. I'm going to spend more time with my family. But you have to also realize that if you don't make this effort now, you're not going to be able to spend time with your family in 10 years from now. You're not going to be up to it. Chas
Absolutely.
v'shalom. And you're not going to fit in your clothes anymore, and all the other things that happen that come with not making it. So I totally get it. I think everybody who's honest with themselves will recognize what you're saying is just so obvious and simple. But what occurs in my mind is number one, you know, as important as it is to acknowledge the value of compounding, not just in our lives, in money and everything, but clearly we have an aversion to it. We don't want to do it. And my number one question is, as important as it is to recognize the value of compound, we also have to hear from you. How do we address those yetzer haras? How do we address those things, the obstacles that are getting in our way of just focusing on what needs to be done, that discipline. And number two, I do think it's fair to say that there's a difference between the example of recording your book as opposed to doubling your penny over the course of a month. Because at the end of the day, recording your book is in your control. That is something you own, that you control that. But doubling your money, there's so many external elements that are going to affect your ability to actually double that penny every day. It you know we need to understand how to get from the same way I can control my ability and take ownership over things that I have control over. How does that translate into money? How do we
Right.
exercise the same amount of
So
control?
let's talk about it, okay? So let's take exercise, for example. I love the example you brought on with exercise. I think it's an excellent example. Would you agree with me, Sholem, that if you exercise every day for the next 10 years, in 10 years, it's going to be a piece of cake for you. You're not going to have to think twice. You're just going to go exercise.
Absolutely. Not even 10 years. Within several months, you already feel like that.
Right. I once heard from somebody that somebody who exercises for 6 months diligently is not gonna be able to live without exercise for the rest of his life. Even if he's
I,
gonna take breaks, he's gonna still have to exercise
yeah, I
every
can
every day.
I can absolutely testify personally to that because I've seen it happen to myself. So that's for sure. That I
Right.
know.
And I saw it by myself too. But let me ask you something. Are you able to get, let's say it's 6 months. If you exercise for 6 months regularly, religiously, it's gonna be a piece of cake for you. Let's say, okay, let's just as an example. So everybody wants to be at the point where you get at 6 months. The problem is,
Right.
in order to get to that point, you have to go through 6 months of hardship or challenges or discipline or fight with your Yetzer Hara and get out and
Right.
exercise,
Right.
get to the
Right.
gym, do whatever you have to. So I think to myself, today it's so hard for me to go exercise. Today I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. After 6 months, yeah, I will do it every day because it's gonna be a piece of cake. The problem is you can't get to the 6 months only without being very, very disciplined for the first
Absolutely.
6 months. You can't. So in other words,
Right.
the first day that you exercise and you fight with your inclination of not going to exercise, you think it's a fight that's gonna go on forever, and I'm gonna the rest of my life I'm gonna have to fight like that. No, you're investing something in order to have the compound effect that you can have after 6 months. Now,
Right.
when it comes to money, we're talking about doubling your money every day for 30 days. This is not to say that you can double your money every day. This is not the point. Even if you make 8% a year, 10% a year, the point is that there is a compound effect that once you get your finances ready to experience the compound effect, it's going to be amachaya. It's going to be, you're going to love it. The problem
Right.
is to get to that point, you have to be very disciplined in the beginning, even though you don't see too much. As the example you said, building the foundation, you're building on the ground. Nobody knows what's going on. People on the outside think, oh, for 6 months, they're not building here. It's not true. They are building, but they're building the foundation, they're building the electricity system, the plumbing system. People from the outside don't see it. All of a sudden, you start doing the cosmetics outside, and people say, "Oh, wow, now they start moving." It's not true. They were moving all along. You just didn't see it.
Right.
But
Right.
the point is also that doesn't mean. Let's go back to the example of the 1 penny doubling every day for 30 days. The challenge that you have day one is different than the challenge you have at day 29.
Right.
Day one, you have a challenge of doubling a penny. Big deal. I don't have to do anything for that. I just have to reach out, put in my hand in the other pocket and take out another penny. That's simple.
Right.
But
Right.
in day 29, you have to come up with $2.5 million. It's a different challenge. And
Yeah.
usually people they will not go through day one because they don't know how to deal with challenge day 29, which is a big problem. Because once you get to day 29, you will have to figure out how to deal with the challenges with day 29. You don't have to deal with it now. You have to deal with it then, and then you're gonna most probably figure out how to deal with it based on the challenges you have in day 29. And this is true in every area of life. I think it goes back to a conversation we had, a few podcasts ago about somebody who doesn't save any money because he doesn't know where to invest it. Who cares where
Right.
to invest it? Just start day one. Do whatever you have to.
Right. So you're saying that some people hesitate from saving money because they're afraid of what's going to be 30 days from now?
Give you an example. Some people don't go on a diet because they don't know how to lose 100 pounds. They only know how to lose 5 pounds.
Interesting.
But who cares? You do what you have to do today. And when you get to that point, we'll deal with it then. I once heard somebody saying, jump down from the roof. The wings are going to come on the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's, in these 12-step programs where people who, participate in these programs where with the supportive environment, whether it's people who are having trouble, all kinds of different trouble, but they have 12 steps that they go through that they're working on. And, one of the famous slogans is one day at a time. You just take it. Don't look at what's going to be, how difficult it's going to be over the next 6 months or a year. Just think about today. Today, you're
Absolutely.
going to invest money.
One
Today,
day at a time and one step at a time.
one step at a time.
And
And
so let's talk about, for example, saving money. you know that by this and this and this point, your goal is to have enough money to marry off your children, for example. So in order to get there from, let's say we're talking about a 20-year period, from year 19 to year 20, it's a big difference, very big difference. Could be, let's say that you need $100,000, could very well be that five of the $100,000 you need will come in year number 20.
Right.
So it's going to get from 19 and a, from 190, sorry, from $95,000 to $100,000 in year 20.
Right.
But year one could be it's going to be only $1,000 that is going to go up your account. And then you think to yourself, okay, big deal. It's only $1,000. I'll start next year because this year I have blah, 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 blah. It's not true, because your step in the right direction in year one is what gets you that in year 19 to 20, you should be able to get that result.
Right. And- yeah. And I hear from you, and I think this is consistent throughout all the different things that you've spoken about. And so much of being successful in financially, it really is determined by your mindset. You have to have a mindset, a committed mindset to being willing to make these things happen, and to recognize that there are going to be challenges. But if you have the mindset of commitment, and recognizing this is what I want to make happen, these other challenges are going to be addressed.
Right.
Uh,
I want to tell
I
you
once
something
heard,
very funny.
yeah,
Let me ask you a question first. How many Zaidas and Babas do you have going back 10 years? Take a guess. Throw out a number.
10 years.
Yes.
I mean, I had four. I mean, personally, I had two Bubbies and two Zadies, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about great grandparents.
Okay,
For the past 10 generations, no, not 10 years, I'm sorry. 10
10
generations.
generations. Oh, I mean, there could be, I don't even know. I mean, it could be 20, 30
How about millions?
in 10 generations.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's count together. So you have four, right? Each of your four grandparents have also four. So that means you have to double it every generation.
Uh-huh.
4 times 4. Am I right? No, just a second. So 4 times 4 is how much?
16.
16. So it's not double, it's more than double. Then you
Mhm.
need 16 times 4. How much is 16 times 4? I'm so happy I have you on the show because
64.
I needed somebody who was good at math.
64.
64. So we're holding at 2 generations. No, the generation number 364. Generation
Okay.
number 4, 64 times 4 is 256. Okay,
Okay.
number 5 is 1024. Number 6 is, I have a calculator. Don't think I'm silly. Number 6 is 4096. Number 7 is 16,384. Number 8 is 65,536. Number 9 is 262,144. Number 10 is 1,048. 1,048,000. Schulen Friedman has 1,048,576 Zaidas and Babas over the past 10 generations.
Wow.
Can you imagine? Okay, now full disclosure, it doesn't mean it's 1,048 different Zaidas and Babas. Could be that a few of them are multiple times your Zaida and Baba.
Okay.
But you didn't. When I made this calculation, when I saw this 1 penny a day doubling for 30 days, I made this calculation about Zaidas and Babas, and I was fascinated.
Yeah. Wow.
Imagine 20 generations. You're talking about millions and millions.
That's incredible. And like you said from the beginning, this is across the board in every
And
aspect
I'll
of our
tell you something
lives.
else. If you think about somebody, you think about any Jew from 10 generations ago, very, very big chance that he's Yuzada and Baba or Baba.
Uh-huh.
You talk about 20 years ago, even bigger chance. You talk about the Chachmaya Talmud, you know, the Chachomam, Tanuma, Meruam, any Jew that is not a convert, is not a get, most probably all of them are Yuzaidas and Baba, some way, shape, or form.
Wow.
All the way to the Mauritian, he is for sure, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure. But that's incredible. Wow. So it's the impact that we have. Everything we do has such an immense impact. That's really something I wanted to mention. You talked about how as much of the challenge as it may be to get something started, it can be just as challenging to to get to the end, because the end can be just as concerning. How am I gonna actually make this happen? I once heard from Rav Scheinberg Alav Shalom. He says Chazal tell us klas chalas kashes. Right? I don't understand. When I start something, it's always fresh, it's exciting. I'm ready to go when I'm going to make it. He says, I find it to finish something is difficult. That's where what's kasha? What's pshat and chazal? Class follows kashas. He said, no, pshat and chazal is when we start something, we have to start it with a commitment to see it through to the end, no matter what. That type of commitment, that's kasha.
Wow.
That's where it's difficult, and that's what I
Absolutely.
think you're saying, Reb Chaim, is that we need this mindset that we're going to commit ourselves, and it's going to be difficult, but we're going to see it through. And if we can develop that mindset, then we can life all these incredible, compounds.
Absolutely. And I love that shot because I can relate to that. And most of the people who don't accomplish too much is because they don't get to the finish line. And it's a shame. You know how many books I started writing and I didn't finish it? But Baruch Hashem, I did tshuva, now I finished. But a lot of things people start and they don't finish. So it's
Right.
it's so important. And usually, but I still think some people have the pachad, they're scared of starting something because they think they're not going to finish it. So start and finish, and let's celebrate together your success. But let's not forget that we were talking about compound interest in finance. It goes on to in everything in life. Start and finish, and know that the small step today is part of the big, big step and the end. Maybe you don't see it yet.
I am Vanilla. Okay, that's gewaldic.
Okay, we'll finish with this today and have a wonderful day, Reb Shulam. We'll be in touch.
Okay.
Git Gelt, the wisdom for your well. Git Gelt, the wisdom for your well.